Welcome, women, on my channel. I'm Karin Rust, and today in the Women Wisdom Weavers, I have a beautiful guest. It's Miriam. She was my last women mentor, and what I learned from her is feminine leadership. I mean, I learned a lot from her in this last beautiful container she held, but especially was what for me was especially was the feminine leadership, how she guided us women in a very feminine way that I never have experienced before. And I feel that this feminine leadership is something that rises in the consciousness of women searching for different way to who are in leading positions to do it in a different way than we have been told and we have been taught. And how does this looks like? We don't have so many role models in my experience. And that's why I wanted to have a talk with Miriam, where she can explain everything about the feminine leadership and how does it looks like, how does it feels like, because yeah, she did it in a wonderful way. So welcome, Miriam, and AKA Moonbody, I have to add. And maybe you just go ahead and introduce yourself a bit.
Thank you, love. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you and to be speaking with you again. My name is Miriam. Hi, everyone watching. Miriam Ropschitz. And I do a lot of things. Mainly, I work with women and the womb in many different varieties. But I say that the womb is a seat of a special kind of power that we women have access to. And usually it leads us onto a journey of depth inside ourselves and takes many different pathways, but always deeper and always down.
So true. So why don't you go ahead and we go straight to the point. How does feminine leadership look like, and how does it differ from the, I call it the patriarchal power construct way to lead? I don't know, maybe you have another definition of it, but yeah, just go ahead.
All right, love. Thank you so much. So, in the spirit of the feminine, I've never really kind of written down a specific definition that I have of feminine leadership because it's really come through organically. It's just arisen organically. And there's many reasons why. Maybe we'll get into that later. But let's say like feminine. First of all, let's take this word feminine, because for you and me, Karen, feminine means something different than the dictionary definition. Because feminine in the dictionary definition is usually about a patriarchal version of femininity that is like the women are sweet and diminutive and pretty.
Wearing dresses.
Yeah, wearing dresses. Like a lot of femininity is around seeing women through the male gaze and seeing them as kind of like a cute little object that can be devoured. And what I like to call, and I borrowed this from Audre Lorde, psychically milked. So we have this tendency in our culture to psychically milk women, where we're just kind of like, we see a great example of this is a woman like Marilyn Monroe, who was this beautiful, sensual goddess, and the culture was so obsessed with her, they drunk her life, her soul, and threw her in the bin. Which is a devastating story if you know the actual story of her, what happened to her. So she's a great example of this kind of erotic milking. Sorry, psychically milking of the eros is what I meant to say.
Erotic milking sounds also good.
Quite fun. Anyway. So feminine to you and I, we're talking about feminine as in the goddess, as in the wild body, as in raw, as in power, as in wisdom, as in cyclical, as in earthy. So feminine leadership is a counter to the kind of what Riane Eisler, who is a big teacher on feminine leadership, she doesn't call it that. She describes it as patriarchal consciousness or the dominator paradigm, versus partnership, the partnership model. The dominator model and the partnership model is what Riane Eisler calls it. So she's another kind of giant and genius who speaks about this, who I am very inspired by. So it's important just to name Riane Eisler, who's the author of The Chalice and the Blade. So one of them is intuitive. One of them is about guiding. One of them is about consent as well. Like feminine leadership requires consent, whereas the other kind is the kind that we may have encountered at school or at work or sometimes in our families, where somebody is leading, but they never asked for our consent. They just they assumed the position of the dominator because they are, you know, the biggest or the oldest or the man or whatever it is. So that is what I would say is the difference.
Yeah. And it also it feels very different. It was when I was in your container at the beginning. I felt it actually from the beginning, but I just felt something is different, but I couldn't really point my finger to it. Because I had many beautiful women teachers, but when I look now back, they all have been kind of still in the patriarchal construct how to lead. And with you, it was completely a different feeling. Sorry. I have my little one here, guys, so sorry. So why do you think it feels so differently, or how does it differ from the energy level, how you perceive it, how you feel it?
Yes, I think that's probably the most important difference, because I don't know about you, love, but I don't want to feel bullied or dominated. I'm a rebel. Hello. I'm very creative. I'm very independent. And oh, he's so sweet, man. He's so cute. So I personally, if there's, I have mentors, I have wise elders who I go to for guidance, but they don't dominate me. They are not like, I'm the boss and you do what I say, you know. Whereas I come from a background growing up in England, going to a private school, a military private school. I had a lot of dominator trauma from this you know, I was remembering in my school, you had to ask to go to the toilet. You'd say, please, sir, can I go to the toilet? And sometimes they'd say no. I would say, oh my God, I can't even go for a pee.
Yeah.
You had to ask to take your coat off when it was hot. Excuse me, can I take my coat off? You know, little things like this. It's very common in these kind of schools. But what it does is, for me, it made me allergic to this kind of dominating leadership. And then I was a journalist as well. And I used to work in newspaper offices. And there was a really toxic culture of kind of insane dominator consciousness in the newsroom, because we're on the deadline. It's serious. That's how you get it done. You know, it's this kind of energy.
Yes.
And like, it's, you know, and I understand that it's a fast-paced environment, but it's not good. So how it feels, the difference is, I'm seeing, for example, in our group work that we did with Sister Wolves, I don't have any desire to have authority over any of the women I work with. I don't want to take that leadership role through fear or overpowering or lack of consent. I don't want to puff myself up to seem bigger and better and more important than I am. None of that appeals to me at all, because it's all because it's, to me, in my body, it feels horrible to be even thinking and talking about doing that. And I remember when people have done that to me, even in women's circles where the woman is leading, but it's really like authoritative. I don't have respect for that, because we, as most humans who are embodied and who are sane, we don't give respect to people through intimidation and fear. We give it through love. Like the people who I respect, the people I love, who I've seen being consistently wise and kind and honest for a long period of time. It's not, I don't respect the people who are the scariest. So how it feels differently is this kind of patriarchal leadership we have in schools and workplaces and sometimes in families. It's dehumanizing. It says you are going to do what you're told because I'm the boss. It doesn't take into consideration any of you or your humanity or your interests or your skills or your gifts. It just bulldozes over them. Whereas this other style is saying, just in the sense of Sister Wolf, the program you were in, we're saying, okay, you've chosen for me to be your guide and leader because you've chosen to come into this program. You've paid money, you've consented, you've said, yes, please, you've asked to join. So I know, so we're starting that relationship in this way that you have consented. And now I'm going to be saying, okay, how interesting. I have these beautiful women who I can get to know and I can listen to them and I can see them. And I don't just mean visibly, I mean, I can see them and see their gifts and see their talents and their beauty and their love. And I can think about, okay, so I'm seeing this human being with all these interesting different qualities that are different to this woman and different to this woman. And how am I going to tailor my skills, my guidance to support her in the fullest way possible? So it's really, it feels like you're being seen as a human being and you're being loved and honored for who you are. For example, I haven't got children. You're a mother. You know, you've had a different level of initiation to me, a higher initiation to me. So in some ways, you know, you are further along than I am. I can see that in you. And it doesn't mean that I have to like, oh, now I got to pretend somehow that I'm better than Karen because she's it's just like, okay, she's a mum, you know, she's given birth, she's free birthed her baby like I would like to do. So in the interaction, I'm going to be bringing that into my awareness that that has happened. And so there's a certain kind of communication that I'm going to bring to our exchanges where I honor that in you.
Yeah.
So it's very humanizing.
Yeah.
And the other way is really dehumanizing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And this is really what I felt from the beginning, that you are so sensitive and so soft. Yeah, soft. I mean, it's in our society, what we have learned is exactly those things that you explained now to me, how the feminine leadership looks like and feels like, are seen as weak.
Yes.
And then a lot of also myself, I had a quick flip in my mind where I thought, oh, she's not really leading.
Yeah.
So did you had this or did you had like, because I guess because it is so unknown of the feminine way to live, and almost, I would say, like almost no woman or even men have experienced really feminine leadership. Wait a second. What do you need, baby? Bye. What? That's also why I want to bring more awareness to us, back to our consciousness, collective consciousness about the feminine leadership, that we can embrace it and accept it again. But did you had not bad experiences when it was not really seen, the feminine leadership, or they didn't really understood it?
For sure, for sure. And I will say that there is a fine line between being like really beautifully soft and feminine and being like a feminine leader. It's a fine line, but it's also a big line, because and that's where you have to look at what underneath the scene reality, I would say. That's when you have to be intuitive And you have to be somebody who's perceiving existence at a more subtle level, because if you are going on this very gross level, as in, the manifest, the obvious level, and you can't feel and perceive what's underneath, you might miss it altogether. People will miss it. People will assume like this person's weak, or this person, but actually they might be a very gifted leader and the other person doesn't have the skills to hear. And it works the other way as well. Just because, you have to, it's taken me many years to refine my leadership. And a few years ago, I was getting there, but I wasn't quite there. And I probably wasn't leading as fully as I could be. And, if people didn't pick up on it, I would say that's probably my fault, So you can flip it both ways. But for sure, I've had a couple of years ago, I remember when I was really embodying this, and somebody didn't get it at all. And they kept had come as a guest to one of my events, and they kept wanting to take over and take control. And the other women who were there, they knew me and they'd worked with me before, and they'd come for me. And there was like this other woman who wanted to be in command. What had happened was she wasn't able to perceive at this more subtle level. And so she saw, oh, there's a power vacuum. I'm going to rush in and take it, And so it's a beautiful learning experience for me and for all the other women there who could see it, because that's not cool. It shows somebody's lack of skill. If you want, this is one of the things about feminine leadership, there's a quote, I can't quite remember the quote about kings, but it's like, the person who makes the best king isn't the person who really, 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 really wants to be king and wants to be the boss and wants to be in control. It's the person who doesn't want that, but is somehow like has the gifts and the wisdom for it. Because often people who desire power are not always the wisest people.
No, yeah.
There's often more ego going on there, or desire to control things. And that doesn't work with feminine leadership. If your desire is to be like the queen of everyone, people will feel that and it will repel them. And they'll feel unsafe.
Yeah, I can tell that so clear, because I myself was in this position when I worked as a photographer, coupled with my husband together. And I was so under pressure I am a natural leader, I would say, but in this power construct. And it feels similar like your journalist business, where it's everything fast and you have to be better and faster and more creative and this and that. And I felt so much under pressure. And I wanted to be like, I wanted to represent what was kind of expected of me, and especially of women, because I feel like women are even worse than men when they are in a dominant position and they not really feel comfortable, or they haven't developed. In my experience, kind of the women in leaderships are really worse than men, because from my own experience, it's because I guess it's so much pressure on our nervous system. It doesn't really fit to our energies. And we may feel that something is off, but I had no idea how should I change to lead. Or I was also not able to completely leave it to my husband, what I could have done, because there I was this ego part of me. I think I was fighting so hard for this, and now I take control. I'm now in this position after so many years. And it was a lot of hardness. Yeah, maybe that's the point I want to go to, that so many women get so hard when they step into these leading roles. Why do you think that is so?
I think it's because we have been, you know, we have all this history where we couldn't own property, where we were property, where we couldn't have a credit card, where we couldn't vote. You know, our grandmothers, maybe some of our mothers, some of our great grandmothers have been in these crazy relationships where they're basically a domestic slave and they just cook and clean and have babies. And so you and I have come out, this our generation, we have, and you know, our mum's generation to some degree, we have this opportunity to have power now, but we have something to prove. So it's like when we get the opportunity, we can't just be the same as the men in the similar positions. We have to like do it more, do it harder, because it could be taken away from us at any moment, you know. I think that's how a lot of us feel. So it's like, I need to prove myself, so I'm going to go all in. And also because if feminine leadership is this intuitive, instinctive, subtle thing that's coming from inside, it's coming from our embodiment, to force ourselves into the patriarchal model, as you said, is very unnatural. And so there's probably a lot of force in it that we're trying to keep up this illusion that doesn't feel right. And I've also encountered, similar to you, where the women in my writing and journalism career who were in positions of power were worse than the men.
Yeah.
And it always felt like if they weren't, someone might get ahead of them, or they'd work so hard. This is their chance. They got to make the most of it now. You know, it's like, oh, how exhausting.
Yes, so exhausting. Oh my gosh. It was so much energy that was leaking out of me when I look back now. And I realized that, yeah, it has been my masks that I was wearing, because I was so unsure, and I was so afraid that they may see behind me, kind of.
The real you.
Yes, the real me. Because yeah, I'm not that hard controlling bitch, you know, that a lot of them experienced me.
I think as well, love, we can say how to be like, you can be really powerful, and with that you can be really soft.
Yes.
Right? Because real power is an inside job. It means that your power center, it means that the subtle energy centers of your body are full, and they're working, and you're touching them, and you're loving them, and you're nourishing them. And so, you know, the more powerful a woman becomes, i.e., the more she nourishes and cultivates her, what I call the feminine energy matrix, you know, the connection between the heavens and earth in her body, and the pole of the breast, heart, and the womb, pussy. The more power she runs, actually, the softer she becomes, because there's so much more ease. There's so much more sexual energy. There's so many more orgasms, you know, and it's like, so the more power I hold, naturally, I'm becoming like more soft and more sensual and sensitive.
And more magnetic.
And more magnetic.
And then kind of you embody this energy that you have respect, because you feel it, you know, kind of this. It's like this. It's what I felt with you.
Thank you, love. Thank you so much, because it hasn't always been this way, and it just goes to show that it works, and it's not some like magical, whimsical, mystical bullshit. It's like it's kind of quite scientific in a way.
Okay.
I mean, because you just nourish your power centers, and it floods your body with good energy.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually my next question. How, when I want to start to cultivate this feminine leadership in me, how do I start? Where is the starting point? Do you have any starting point for us?
Sure. I would say with your body, with your relationship with your body and your embodiment. So how much more of yourself can you occupy and inhabit from a place of beautiful, raw honesty? So really nourishing this relationship with your body, taking care of yourself, not in a like, I'm getting my hair done every week kind of way, but you can do that if that's what your cup of tea is. more, something way deeper than that. Who are you with yourself in the quiet moments? Like, can you put a hand on your heart and just have a breath a few times a day? Can you put your energy in your lower body?
Yeah,
Can you
like
touch
more,
yourself?
yeah, like more like a deep nourishment and not that I look good. Instead, maybe the difference.
Exactly. Because it's not about so much how it looks, it's about how it
How
feels.
it feels. Mm.
And eventually the two will connect, you know? When you feel really good, you will look good.
Yeah, you start to
But
shine.
one will last longer than the other.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, all the classic practices I teach, breast massage, internal pussy work,
Mm.
those two are always just key to everything I do because they're so powerful and they're so simple, and anyone can do it now.
Yeah.
You don't need any special fancy tools. You just need your hands and some free time.
Yeah, what you said in the container I have been, you said your hands are the best healers for you, right? Did you say it that way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
It's all your hands are the most important sex toy, the
mm,
most important healer you'll have because they're connected to your body.
yeah.
And it's lovely to receive touch from others, of course, that's very important too, but you've got to touch yourself first
Mm,
because that tells your body how you want to be touched by others.
yeah. And that's so crazy, that this wisdom, that's exactly the things that I so would love to weave back in the women consciousness, collective consciousness, to touch ourselves, that it is not just sexual, that it goes so much further, and that we have no wisdom about it anymore. When on
Yeah.
one point it was there, no?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When we look at a lot of the ancient civilizations, there is some kind of self-massage healing practice.
Mm.
And what happened with a lot of us in Europe is, our animist ancestors, their practices got wiped out. So people from Europe, we often look to the Eastern cultures for their wisdom. But
Mhm.
actually, and that's beautiful, and there is so much wisdom there. But we also had something, our own culture's version of it once upon a time that's got lost. So, just making time to put your hands on yourself. I'm always touching myself non-sexually throughout the day, even like on the train, I noticed I was just like touching my body, and that's brings your nervous system into regulation, and it just slows everything down and slows your breath down and starts to bring that energy in. So feminine leadership is basically you cultivate your power centers with
Mhm.
awareness, with nourishment, with life force energy.
And why is this, what can I say, is this mostly through sexual touching stuff for women? Or would you say that? Or
I don't know, love. I don't quite understand.
that when you say to fill up our power centers, to activate them more, is this mostly through nourishing ourselves and have the sexual contact with ourselves, self-love maybe?
As opposed to having sex with somebody.
No, or just like other ways, meditating and all this stuff that we know
Oh,
of,
for sure. For sure. There's many ways you can do it, but I would say the fundamental, most important thing is the simplest thing of how are you in relationship to your body?
Mhm, mhm,
And that's going to involve touching, it's going to involve some sexual,
mhm.
loving sexual touch.
Yeah.
And that sets the precedent for the other things. And yeah, of course, meditation is amazing. I love to practice yoga nidra. um, I love to be outside as much as I can in the garden
Mm.
with animals, with kind loving people, all those things. But all those things are kind of secondary to how are you ultimately. There's only you.
Yeah.
So how are you with yourself? You come into the world as you leave as you. How are you with you?
Yeah, I think, and there is a big problem because most women have a very bad relationship to themselves and especially to their bodies
Yeah.
today.
So it's like repairing this deep, deep, deep rupture. That's stage one.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's easy, but it may not be as hard as people think it is.
I follow you since a while, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years or something. Oh. Yeah, I would say it's already 10 years, right? And on one point, I don't know, maybe it's like 3-4 years ago, I felt like this big shift in you. Even if I just followed you on Instagram, I felt this big shift. What happened there? What was your personal big shift that really changed your whole energy? How you came?
The thing for every woman since the beginning of time, when you leave a shit relationship, that has been sucking your energy and you didn't realize, and this isn't to blame this man at all. I'm honestly, it's my fault that I was there. So anyone watching this, if you're in a relationship that isn't working and you've tried for years, but you keep stop trying. There has to be a point where you stop trying to make a relationship work and you have to say, actually, no, I need to get out and to save my time. And then since then, I've been very discerning. I haven't been in I've had lovers, but I haven't been in a proper relationship. And I really understood that actually we have to be so careful who we choose to be in a relationship with as women, because they're probably going to get a lot of our life force. We want to be with somebody who is going to be giving what they get back.
So do you think the time is already ready in our societal structures? I mean, we have on one point with women, we will be the change, and change has to come by us doing things differently, in doing the things, in the feminine way, like feminine leadership. Do you think, or how can women start to do it in our society?
Yeah, beautiful, love. So we can recognize where we may have, I've got many things to say. It's all coming out at once. Yeah. It takes a lot of balls, and people tell me you shouldn't say it takes balls. You should say it takes pussy. I like to say it takes balls. I like balls are cute and funny. It takes balls to unplug from this dominator construct. Because you run the risk, like you experienced with me. You were like, oh, is she really leading? Oh no, like, did I just pay this money and she can't do the thing? People are going to think that about you. Are you going to be able to hold that? Can you hold yourself? I'm not asking you, I'm asking rhetorically. People are going to doubt you. They're going to say like, well, she's not playing the game, so maybe she's full of shit.
Yep.
Baby. So you've got to start to look at the places where you are plugging into that old way and choose to stop doing it. So if you're a mom and you have kids, that's a great place to not be doing domination.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because I think a lot of mums have that old style leadership skills because they were brought up with it and they see it in schools and it's normal.
Yes.
And just because it's normal doesn't mean it's healthy. Hello. Yes. Hello, beautiful. So it starts with you. It starts with us. And then if you're you can speak about it with your friends. Notice in your friendship groups, if you have a friend who is kind of always dominating you. I don't have friends like this anymore because it drives me wild. But a few years back, I started to notice when you have a friend who is, or you meet somebody and they're always trying to go on top. They're always trying to top you. without, and you don't want them to do that. You're trying to engage with them as equals, and they're always going like, hold on, how can I how can I come above you? So noticing that and how you feel, because for me it makes me feel like, go away, I don't want that, some of us will notice things we don't like, and instead of allowing ourselves to feel that way, a lot of us ruin our intuition and our instincts. They come and we're like, oh, never mind, I'll just carry on. But actually, that's, if you're a woman who wants to have more connection with her womb, learning to listen to her intuition is like the first step of that.
Yeah.
The unseen world is full of signs and symbols coming to us all the time. We need to learn to read them and to hear them. So many ways we can start to adjust our leadership style and to bring more feminine leadership. Also being yourself. Like if you are, I'm really sensitive, I'm quite introverted, I'm quite quiet. I like to read and like be in nature and make potions, and I denied myself that for years. I was like, no, you want to be successful, you need to go and be loud and be out and be rah all the time. So being authentic to who you really are and your actual real desires. Like, what do you really like? Some people don't know what they like?
Yes.
And they spend their whole lives doing things they don't like.
Wild little man.
Good.
His character comes out like he's really wild one. I love it.
Perfect baby for you, a little wild.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I finished on that point, love.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, pregnancy is a great opportunity to embrace feminine leadership by yourself, to lead yourself through a wild, free pregnancy if you wish that, and stop to listen to everyone around you. And then you really have to tune into yourself and take everything, learn really your intuition when you haven't done it till now, because also when you're pregnant, the intuition is so strong. And that's why I think it's also so tiring and so damaging, and so many women get all this problem during pregnancy because they don't listen to their intuition. They have to listen to the experts, and I think that is a big source for all these problems that we have today during pregnancies. And then of course, I mean, the birth is, you have to lead yourself. When you do it free, you lead yourself. But as I said, when you did the wild pregnancy, you prepared very well for this moment. And when it's time, you will be ready. This is like this. Yeah, this is maybe where I really started through pregnancy, the feminine leadership, or maybe more take the ownership of that. Yeah,
that's such a good example, love. I hadn't actually thought how perfect, because I haven't had a baby. I hadn't thought about what a perfect example of feminine leadership versus patriarchal leadership pregnancy is. Because when you're pregnant, even friends and family can tell women, oh, you should be careful.
Exactly.
If there's something wrong with the etc. And everyone. For you to say, I have another source of information and wisdom for myself.
Exactly. And it is so powerful. But when you choose about pregnancy, like you say, everyone will say something. It's more extreme than when you do it in the system. When you do it free, everyone will say, on one point, everyone will say something. So you are so dependent on your inner knowing, and you have to tune in. And also you have to be so soft to yourself, because you are so different and your energy is different. And a lot of time you just have no power, or you feel like you have no power because all the energy goes to the baby. And then you have to be soft to yourself. And there, I think it was the first time that I really learned to be soft to myself. Because, yeah, like we have been trained for competition and to be better than the other one, and to have all these things that we need to have that we don't need to have. Yeah, it was the first time that I really could like connect to my true wishes. And yeah, that was for me the pregnancy. It's a beautiful opportunity to go into feminine leadership. Yeah.
I can't think of a better one.
Yeah.
A better time to test your balls.
Yeah, you really need a lot of balls. Sometimes I look back and I think like, oh my God, where did I got these balls from?
Maybe your baby.
Yes, exactly. He's a fighter. Wait a second. Yeah, of course. You got the energies from the soul of your baby. It's like,
They know what they need.
so a lot of women or also men think like that women leadership or stepping in your feminine power is a threat to the masculine, to the divine masculine, but we don't really see the divine masculine in our society, but to the masculine. How do you see that?
I say that powerful men, healthy, powerful men, want and desire and love healthy, powerful women.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a man who only feels powerful because you choose women who are like really young, or there's a habit that we have where old, accomplished, wealthy men like to take more vulnerable younger women because it gives them this sense that they're the man. But if you really want to see, I say to men, if you want to see how masculine you are and how really manly you are, choose a fire-breathing priestess who will tell you what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the real test of your masculinity. So yeah, there's no threat, We're all brothers and sisters in the human family. And if you're sane, we've been born on this beautiful world. We're not in competition. There's more than enough. If you're a sane person, then you should be here and you should be undoing the lie. If you're reinforcing the lie, then I have no time really for you or for your ideas. And what I mean by that is the lie is that we're in competition and that men and women are in competition. There's this ancient war between men and women that is so sad and so heartbreaking. And for many of us, it plays out in our relationships, in a microcosm of the bigger macrocosm of this war, this battle.
Yep.
Yeah, we need to just join forces. We need to unite in a relationship. I have a lot of criticism towards the polarity world that says like, in order to get your masculine man, you have to be like a deeply feminine woman. And when they say feminine, they don't mean the definition I gave at the beginning of this call. They mean like always open and always sweet and always loving. And actually, that's ridiculous,
Totally ridiculous.
We have a full spectrum of emotions. And sometimes we'll be that, and sometimes we will naturally have to be, for our own protection in a world that does some terrible things to women, we have to develop the intuition about when it's time to close our heart and protect ourselves. So I have a lot of criticism towards the polarity world. I think it's quite damaging and stupid, and I can't even remember why I was saying that. Because it gets me very annoyed. So I just lost all my thoughts.
Yeah.
But there's no threat to really embodied men are not threatened by embodied powerful women. They love us. We're fun. We're great fun. We're a great time.
Exactly. and challenging and adventurous and for them.
And also like soft and loving and beautiful and
Yeah.
honest, as well. Like I'm very soft and I'm very like sweet-natured naturally. And I also will destroy you if I have to. I'd rather not. I'd rather have a cup of tea, but
Yeah. I
must.
get once this beautiful picture about that when you imagine a painting and the man is the mountain and the woman is the weather around the mountain. So I love this picture because the weather is all the time changing and it's dangerous and stormy, and then it's so soft and beautiful and sunny, right? There's all those things, and the man is just there. This represents for me like really a man who walks, who's not running when the big storm or the tornado is coming. He's there and he can hold this energy, the weather that is smashing against the mountain.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's an image that's often used when people are trying to describe Shiva and Shakti, as Shiva as consciousness and Shakti as the manifest world of form.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in those senses, it tracks definitely.
Coming back again to more about the sexuality for women, because I think it's my God, there's so much bullshit out there about the sexuality anyway, and with all the pornography that is so damaging for us and for our children and for our men, it's so toxicating. I thought you had such a great idea with your erotic letter that you send out. Is something newer that you do. And I wanted to mention that because it's so inspiring, and I think we have a lot of sexual fantasies, but in your case they are not fantasies, they are true stories. But I think to bring this energy into running again, it's so beautiful to get inspired by your sexual newsletters. Do you want to say something about it?
Of course. I always want to speak about Gush. So Gush is a Substack that I started a month ago. And I have a new lover, and he was activating in me a lot of memories of some of my fun sexual adventures over the years. And we've also been having a really nice time. I live in the beautiful countryside, and we've been having a lot of outdoor adventures and just lovely, just like I love a masculine man who's like just strong and true and wild and honest and earthy. And just for me, that's what I love in a man. And everyone's welcome to love whatever they want in men and women. That's for me is my kink. And so I started to write some of what we were experiencing together down. And then I thought, like, I do so much work around sexuality. Why don't I add this as well? So one of the beautiful things about it is, yeah, it's fun to read a story about somebody making love, and it's written very poetically. And I also bring in a lot of the books that I've read over the years about sexuality. Like I used to read Lady Chatterley's Lover when I was 13, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is so hot. Like, oh, I'm so grown up, And then later on, I read all kinds of erotic fiction that I loved when I was a teenager and a bit older, and as an adult as well. So it's infused with little mentions of that, with the books that I've loved. And the great thing about it is, I teach a lot of women how to do sexual cultivation practices, but this is actually something that turns on your erotic energy. And then women are reading it and they're feeling turned on, and then the energy is moving, and then they're going to do their practices, and
Yes,
it works completely differently.
yes, that's exactly what I wanted to bring to the point, but I wasn't able to. Yeah, it's so in such a beautiful turning on, because like pornography, it always has this dirt on it or this shameful thing, and it's not. It's but still kind of we have this desire, I think, to read or hear stories, sexual stories.
Yeah.
To don't, like you say, the fire.
It's an ancient human thing. Since the beginning of time, people have been telling sexy stories and making, writing on, drawing on pots, sex scenes and porn
Yeah.
on pots, and then it just got all twisted into the porn industry where it became like too violent and too abusive and the wrong energy.
Dominator again.
Yeah, the wrong energy into it. So, like, there's nothing wrong with the human desire for porn and erotic fiction and erotic art. That is just like in most of us human beings. It's just how can we get it in a way that isn't somehow, hurting us and hurting other people.
Yeah.
And so, Gushes, my little newsletter goes out twice a month. People are loving it. It's so nice.
It's so good.
I'm going to get all the essays together and they're going to be a book. So one of the nice things is if you're a subscriber now, you're basically reading the book before the book is out. So you're at the beginning of the journey of Gush.
Yeah, no, great. It's such a brilliant idea. So I had to mention it. Women, go and get it. It's so inspiring. And yeah, because myself, I started with Miriam to start my sexual healing journey actually, and my relationship to my body. And yeah, I think this is a additional beautiful way to do it. So I want to thank you, Miriam, very much for your wisdom and for your time. And let us know what you else have in your pocket at the moment.
In my pocket. Thank you, love. Pleasure to talk to you. I really enjoy spending time with you, chatting. It was a pleasure working with you. I love your work. I love how fearlessly you are embodying your own work. It's a beautiful thing to watch. So what do I have right now? Oh, I have a retreat. I have my summer retreat, Nectar, which is August 19th to 26th in Italy. I have Sister Wolf starting Monday, which is the container you were in. So if this goes out before, it starts Monday the 26th. And just in general, if you want to come and do some work with me, I have a lot of things. I have like lots of online courses. I have mentoring. Come and say hello, or just come and look at my Instagram and just get in on the fun and be part of the community of sisters talking about wombs and sex and periods, and just having fun.
Yeah, great. So yeah, was a wonderful talk, and I hope you all got very inspired about Miriam's work and her amazing view on feminine leadership. I was certainly, and let's hope we have another call maybe for around another film another time. So thank you very much.
Thanks, darling.